Welcome to Friday, and Friday means live album ranking, where we take bands and look at their live music, what they've done. Sometimes we get some honourable mentions, but today it's just a straightforward album ranking, and today we're looking at the most underrated prog band from the UK, Camel. Great band, formed in Guildford, Surrey, 1971, and have been led by Andrew Latimer. I've had one or two other people in the band, of course. They influenced people like Marillion, Opeth, Steve Wilson, and live they sound great, regardless of what era. They all sound good. These 11 albums are really, really good. So we're going to start at number 11, an album released in 1997, and it's called On the Road 1981. This was recorded at the Hammersmith Odeon on the 2nd of April 1981, and it was edited for BBC broadcast purposes. And in the band at the time we had Andy Latimer on guitars and flutes and vocals, Colin Bass on the bass guitar and vocals, Andy Ward of course on drums, Kit Watkins was on keyboards and flute, and Iain Shellhass on the keyboards. On this, the set list for this was Never Let Go, Song Within a Song, which is a lovely piece, The Wonderful Lunar Sea, City Life, a little bit of Nude, Drafted and Docks, Beach, Landscapes, Changing Places, Reflections, little piece of that, Captured, and The Last Farewell. Some really good songs. They sounded really good on this, but as it was edited for the Beeb, it's sort of a bit mishmashy, and although I enjoy listening to it, you want to hear more instead of little bits. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 10, we have an album that was released in 2019, and it was recorded in the Kosei Nenkin Hall, Tokyo on the 27th of January 1980. So this is Colin Bass on the bass again, Andy Ward on the drums, Andy Latimer on guitars, and Iain Shellhass and Kit Watkins on the keyboards. Very short album, but it's really good. You got Echoes, which is a really good version of this. Him to Her's good, Neon Magic, and then we get Radar Goes to Town, Migration and Preparation, and Dunkirk. Highlight of the album, strong version. Then we get Wait and Nobody Knows. Some definitely good tracks on here, of course, but what lets this down is the production. It's all over the place. For something that's recorded in the same building, it's not that brilliant, I'm afraid, but it's just nice to hear Andy Ward on the drums. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 9 is an album released in 2001. It was recorded at the Bataclan in Paris, France on the 30th of October the year 2000, and it's called the Paris Collection. We've got Andy Latimer on the guitars, Colin Bass on the bass, Guy LeBlanc on keyboards and vocals, and Dennis Clement on drums. Songs on this album are Ice, which is a very good version. Some of Andy's guitar work's excellent on that. Chord Change, another good track. Fingertips sounds great on here. Slow Yourself Down, awesome. Sahara, Mother Road, little bit of Little Rivers and Little Rose, Hopeless Anger, a boom-tastic version of Lady Fantasy, absolutely amazing. And then it goes back into Slow Yourself Down. A really good album. The production is brilliant. Andy is on fire. This is like the more modern sounding Camel, and they can still play the greats. Good, really strong album. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, then coming in at number 8, this album was released in 1984, and it was recorded in 1984 as well, and it's called Pressure Points Live in Concert, recorded at the Hammersmith Odeon. Andy Latimer as ever, guitars, pan flutes, vocals. Tom Schertz-Pazil on lead keyboards, Chris Rainbow's vocals and keyboards, Richie Close on keyboards, the ever-present Colin Bass on the bass, Paul Burgess is on drums now, guest appearance from the one and only Mr. Pete Bardens on the organ, and a name that frequently crops up on this channel, Mel Collins on the saxophone. Opens up with Pressure Points, really good version. Drafted, Captured, Lies, Sasquatch, all great tracks. West Berlin, Fingertips, Wait, then we get Radar again. This is where Pete Bardens and Mel come in. Great way to end the album. It's only it's sort of a shorty version of it, but it's pretty good. It is hard to rank Camel live albums because they're all good. They're all good. Not a weak one. Some of the production lets it down, but this one, the production's great. It's a great selection of songs again. Nice to hear Pete doing a bit of organ on here. Excellent stuff. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.6. Need a cup of coffee already. It's back to sunny and muggy today. Okay, then coming in at number 7, got an album released in 1982. It was recorded on the 10th anniversary tour in Holland, and it's called On the Road 1982. We've got Andy Latimer on guitars, David Payton, who seems to get everywhere, on the bass, Chris Rainbow on vocals and keyboards, Kit Watkins on the keyboards, Stuart Tosh on drums, and backup guitar, Andy Dolby. Really good version of Sasquatch on this. Excellent. Highways of the Sun, track you don't hear often live, Him to Her, Neon Magic, You're the One, Drafted, Lies, Captured, Heart's Desire, End Piece, wonderful. Heroes is good on here. Who We Are, superb performance of that. Manic, Wait, Never Let Her Go. This is great. It's nice to hear some of the more recent Camel's tracks live, and I think this is an all-round album. It's got some, the production's quite nice, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay, then coming in at number 6. This album was released on the 27th of April 2020, recorded live at the Royal Albert Hall in 2018. Got Andy Latimer, Colin Bass as ever, Pete Jones on keyboard, sax and vocals, and Dennis Clement on the drums. This opens up with a very short piece of Australis, a song within a song, chord change, really good, Spirit of Water, very nice little piece. Another Night is excellent. Airborne again, brilliant. Lunacy is probably the outstanding track on this. Even Song, Him to Her, End of the Line. And on CD2 we get Coming of Age, and probably the best version of Rajaz, much better than the studio version. Mother Road is excellent on here. Hopeless Anger. Long Goodbyes is brilliant on here. And the album closes with another great version of Lady Fantasy. This is a great album. It's great to see that Andy Latimer and Colin Bass are still out there doing the business. And they sound as good as they did in 1971 on this. I think this is a great album. The production on it is brilliant. I mean, to get 2 or 3 really long ones is brilliant. Love listening to this. I've seen the DVD to it as well, so it is pretty amazing. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay then, coming at number 5, album released in 1998, and it was recorded at the Billboard live in Los Angeles in 1997, and it's called Coming of Age. On here we've got Andrew Latimer and Colin Bass as ever. 2 people that have actually played with Fish, that's Foss Patterson and Dave Stewart on the drums and keyboards respectively, and guest singer is Mae McKenna on vocals on Air. This one opens up with Lunacy, which is always a great track, one of my favourites. Him to Hers on here, classic. Ray Hayder and Ray Hayder Goes to Town, always good. Preparation. Dunkirk's on here, and that's really good. Drafted, Docks and Beached, all really good. Spirit of the Water's good. Ice and Sasquatch on here. CD2 we get Milk and Honey, Mother Road Needles, really good. Rose of Sharon, brilliant. Irish Air and Irish Air Reprise are brilliant. Harbours of the Tears is brilliant as well. Cobb, that's a little bit. Send Home the Slates, really good. Under the Moon, Watching the Bobbins, Eyes of Ireland, Running from Paradise, End of the Day, Coming of Age, The Hour Candle. Brilliant album. Got lots of the album of the time, and excellent performance from the band. Lovely performance and production. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.2. Okay, then coming in at number 4, listen, another of these On the Road albums. This is On the Road 1972. It was released in 1992. This actually features the classic lineup of Camel, Andy Latimer, Peter Bardens, Doug Ferguson and Andy Ward. There's only 4 tracks on this, but they are brilliant. Lady Fantasy, which is still one of my favourite tracks. 6/8, awesome. Right Where Ida, awesome. God of Light Revisited, 14 minutes of pure prog, absolutely brilliant. Peter Bardens is brilliant on this. It was such a delight. I love this album. 4 tracks, but 4 absolute belters. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9.4. Okay, then coming in at number 3, an album released in 1993. This one was recorded in the Netherlands again in 1992, and it's Never Let Go. Andrew Latimer on guitars, Mickey Simmons, someone else that's played in Fish's band, on keyboards, Colin Bass on the bass, Paul Burgess. On this one we get Never Let Go, Earthrise, Ray Hayder, and Ray Hayder Goes to Town. Spirit of Water, Even Song, classic songs from the band. Echoes, really strong version of that. A boombastic version of I, City of Life is good on here. Drafted. Dust Bowl, a little bit of that. Go West, really good version. Dusted Out Mother Road and Needles, all good versions. The Rose of Sharon, brilliant on here. Milk and Honey, End of the Lines, really good. Storm Clouds, Cotton Camp, Broken Bank, Sheet Rain and Whispers. Little Rivers and Rose, Hopeless Anger, then a little bit more of Whispers of the Rain, Sasquatch, and Lady Fantasy. Brilliant album. It's another great mixture. The production on this is superb. You just can't help not like these Camel live albums. They are just so good. You know, you get some really great versions of these songs, and you know, some of these older ones that sound really good with all the modern technology as well. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. Okay then, coming at number 2. Got an album called Gods of Light. I can't remember what year it was booked, but I'll put it in for you. This is the classic lineup, of course. We've got Andy Latimer, Pete Bardens, Doug Thurston and Andy Ward. 5 tracks on here, but they're all classics. God of the Light Revisited, 16 minutes and 9 of genius. White Rider, brilliant as always. Lady Fantasy, it's absolutely mind-blowing. Arubala, 6 minutes of good. And then the last track, excerpts from Snow Goose, 27 minutes of wonderful music. This album's another little gem. 5 tracks, but quality tracks, quality playing. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.7. So my number 1, and it's their very first live album, and it's just called A Live Record, released in 1978. It's composed of 3 different tours. One LP is from the Mirage tour of 1974, and we've got from the Rain Dances tour as well. It features the original lineup on here as well. It's got on LP2. The Snow Goose was done in 1975 at the Royal Albert Hall. So on here we've got Andrew Latimer on guitars and flute, Peter Bardens on the keyboards, Doug Ferguson plays bass on LP1 and 2 tracks on LP2. Richard Sinclair plays bass on LP1, a couple of tracks. Andy Ward is on the drums. Mel Collins is on the flute and saxophones. We've got the first bits recorded at Hammy Odeon in 77, so we've got Never Let Go, great version, Song Within a Song, wonderful stuff. Luna, C, brilliant version. Then we got some stuff that's recorded in Bristol, Skylines, lovely version of that. Stuff in Leeds, Ligging at Louis, great version. You don't get that much on the album. Then we get Lady Fantasy Encounter Smiles, sort of a melody that goes back into Lady Fantasy. Superb stuff. That I think was recorded at the Marquee. Then side 2 you get The Great Marsh, Radar Goes to Town, Sanctuary, Fritha the Snow Goose, Friendship, Migration, Radar Alone, all stuff from the Snow Goose. Absolutely brilliant. Then we get The Flight of the Snow Goose, Preparation, Dunkirk, Epitaph, Fritha Alone, La Princesse Prelude. Then the Great Marsh reprise. This album's worth that. It's just my number 1 because it's got the Snow Goose on it. It's a brilliant version of it. All the other tracks are just brilliant as well. Mind-blowing stuff. I mean, the classic lineup. Anything by the classic lineup of Camel is going to be brilliant. I'll play this album to death. It's my go-to live Camel album every time. Sometimes I just put the whole of the Snow Goose live on because it's absolutely brilliant on here. So I'm going to have to give this one a 10 out of 10 because it is just probably the definitive version of Snow Goose. Okay, one more show to do this week. We've got a new album review and we're going to look at ZZ Top's Raw soundtrack from them little old boys from Texas. We all know the tracks, but it's a really good album, so we're going to have a look at that one. So if you like this and you like your prog, and there's plenty of prog on this channel, so give me a thumbs up. And if you really like it, why not subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on the content, because we put lots out, lots on the community, going into the archives of the channel, so plenty are there for us to have a look at. So I'll be back later for a bit of ZZ Top.